I'm Joel Edwards, the CEO and owner of Pure Recovery here in Newport Beach, California. I'm here with Dr. Alva from PNS, which is Pacific Neuropsychiatric Services. And we're here today to really talk about this ongoing series we have with the COVID pandemic and how it's affecting mental health and clients and the employees that Dr. Alva and I both have working for our facility. So Dr. Alva, today I really want to talk about what we're doing to kind of support the ongoing mental health of our employees. Having worked in our field for a long time, you and I are both very much aware of our employees need to be healthy in order to provide the care that our clients, your patients, are all coming to us for. Without a healthy workforce, that's extremely difficult to do. So in light of telehealth for our employees, in light of the clients doing that, what are some of the things that we can do from a delivery of services perspective? And let's start with what our employees can do from working at home to provide an environment that's conducive to supporting their ongoing mental health.
Yeah, that is really an important topic of conversation because, again, people are afraid.
Yeah.
Even if they know about the virus, even if they understand the pandemic better than the average bear, they're still going to have fear. And the fear stems not only from themselves, but for their families. And the one thing that we need to do first and foremost is we need to acknowledge it. It's okay to be afraid. And once we acknowledge it and we understand it, then we look for solutions. We look for things that we can do to help them so that they can function on a daily basis without that fear. Sometimes the staff will not tell us, but we notice it in their attitude. We notice it in their physical presence, in their body language. So I think it's important for us to be in the administrative end mindful of that and approach our folks and ask them straight out, what's going on? You're acting differently. Tell me what's happening. Do you need a little bit of time off? Do you need to work from home? Is there something in the environment that is causing you angst? And how do we then change that environment so that they feel comfortable and they can be productive? We have to be mindful of their mental health. We need to monitor for stress. We need to monitor for anxiety. We need to monitor for depression, and that includes irritability, angry outbursts, things of that nature where you would see something that is not characteristic on that particular individual. You do physical measures, dividers. You have a hand sanitizer. You provide them with masks as appropriate. And again, you create a safe environment and a safe space. The key here is that we cannot help other people unless we help ourselves. And in order to do so, we have to be vigilant to the needs of the people that work with us.
Thank you. And on that note, Dr. Alva, in kind of we always talk about meeting our clients where they're at in the treatment and recovery process. Another part is meeting our staff where they're at, especially in light of what's happening right now. And one of the things I noticed we've had to pivot and do is, have a clinical staff delivering services from home, especially at the beginning of this when there's so many unknowns and us all being new to telehealth. And, a lot of the feedback I got was, my kids are at home, my spouse is at home, the dog's here, my mother-in-law's here, the nanny's here, I got the house cleaner, the gardener, like all these distractions. And gosh, I really wish I could get to the office, but instead of the steps we did or encouraged our staff to do, and I'm sure, and I'll ask you to touch on these in a moment, was like, trying to create a space that's dedicated to work and having the proper technology to be able to deliver those. So what are some of the things that you've seen and you recommend to employers to kind of help support their at-home workforce?
You have to meet the need of the employee. So, for example, we have one of our medical providers, and she loved to come to the office. She was not afraid. She took precautions. But lo and behold, nature happens, and she is now pregnant. So her request was simple: can I work from home? And the answer was absolutely. So, we created an environment where she has the Wi-Fi capability. She has her laptop computer. And one of the things that I recommended, because we cannot force people to do what they don't want to do, is to have a room, an office, where she can actually do her job. One of the problems that we see is that people want to take care of everything, including work, and that oftentimes doesn't work and it meets with failure. So one of the recommendations is make sure they have the appropriate space and the appropriate equipment to be able to work from home.
And along with that, and I noticed it personally from going home and working for several months there and trying to run a business from home with, at the time, a 1.5-year-old learning to walk and all those other things at home was, what kind of recommendations would you have for people like me or even people currently that are trying to, you can't leave work at work anymore because work's at home. So how do you separate parent, spouse, I'm at home from work, employee, employer, I'm at work when these two have been meshed together?
Well, you have to normalize it. So that means that if you work from 9 to 5, you work from 9 to 5. And you have to make accommodations with your spouse to make sure that the baby or whatever is being cared for. And there's a give and take in that whole situation, but there has to be that continuity. Life continues. So if you work from 1 hour to another hour, that should continue. And again, when we start meshing everything, that's when disruption sets in and that's when dysfunctionality occurs. So my advice is always make sure you follow a schedule, make sure you have the proper equipment, and make sure you have the proper place in which to labor.
Right. And on that note, you brought up the scheduling piece, which I think is really important to touch on from as we step away from the work-life balance, but just an employee trying to maintain a sense of mental health and mental well-being is that scheduling piece. So again, I'll use myself for example. I'm used to getting up at the same time, going to the office, my come home routine, etc. And that's was gone for a while. But how important is a schedule and routine in just not only employers but people in general to help them maintain and or improve upon their mental health?
Incredibly important. One of the biggest problems that I see is that all the schedules have been disrupted.
Right.
Children need to get up at a certain time. They need to have breakfast at a certain time, and they need to be engaged in the regular activities that are age appropriate for them. Adults have to follow the same routines. The problem again is that we find it too easy to intermix different things.
Right.
The more of a schedule we follow, the better off we're going to be. I tell people all the time, think of the timing when you were in college or high school. Did you have a schedule? Well, yeah. Did you follow it? Yeah. We'll do it again. Right. Follow your schedule. Do it not only for yourself, do it for your family, and I can guarantee you things are going to come back to the way that they should be.
So Dr. Alva, I know I've heard a lot when we get calls from a lot of the employer-funded programs that we work with or with EAPs that will give us a call for help for one of their employees. So on that note, what kind of resources are out there for employees that are either provided by the employer potentially in the Human Resources Department or just community-based that they can access to get the support they need for mental health?
There's a lot of different programs that are readily available.
Okay.
One of the things that I recommend is talk to your Human Resources Department. They are mandated by law to provide with services so that the situation that you're living through can be corrected. In addition to that, we have state funding, we have county funding, and we have federal funding to help in this difficult time. So the important thing is, okay, go through your employer first, find out what resources they offer, and then you can go on different websites for the state, the county, and of course the federal government.
So if I'm hearing you, there's resources out there.
Always.
Just got to do a little bit of digging.
Absolutely.
And Dr. Alva, on a personal note, what are you doing for yourself to help maintain your mental health, running several practices and dealing with patients of your own, working with facilities like us, having an extended workforce? Like, what do you do to maintain your kind of mental health during this time?
I'm taking a little bit of time to smell the flowers.
Okay.
And whereas before I used to get up at the crack of dawn and then, jump in the shower and then run out and do different things, now I try to take it a little bit easier. So instead of being out and about at 7 in the morning, I'll do it at 8 or 9. I'll spend time with my wife. I'll hang out with my dog and my cat. I'll talk to my family. I'll go visit my family. And, we have to have a balance between what we do and what we need for ourselves. So I'm trying to exercise a little bit more. I'm certainly trying to eat better. Holidays coming upon us is going to be a little hard,
Right.
but I think it is doable. So the most important thing to remember is you have to find a balance in it.
Well, Dr. Alva, thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing a little bit of personal stuff about you as well. For anybody that's out there watching this, and if you have questions or concerns or looking for help or some direction or even tapping us into resources Dr. Alva mentioned, please feel free to reach out. We're here to help. Thank you very much.
Thank you.